Hi, it's Paparazzi here. I'm a community expert on the Adobe Photoshop Elements forum, and today I'm going to show you how to change the fabric of a dress, or this will apply to any object really, to place a pattern or fabric over any item of clothing. So here I have a wedding dress, actually, my daughter's wedding dress, and here I have a photo of some fabric, and what we're going to end up with is something like this. So we start off with the photo of the dress, and the first thing we do whenever we're editing is to make a copy of the background layer. So I normally do that by hitting Control J, and now we have a copy that we can work with, and if anything goes wrong we always have the original to go back to. So the first thing we need to do is to make a selection of the dress for which we wish to replace the fabric. So I'm going to use the quick selection tool. Down here you can see in the tool options, it's the top left selection brush, and I'm going to increase the brush size a little using the right square bracket key. We use the left square bracket key to make the brush smaller. So start off with a fairly large brush and just drag it down, and I got a pretty good selection of the dress, but it's not, if we go in a little closer, it's not the complete dress. So I'm going to lower the brush size, get in a little closer, see if we can add that. Went a little too far in the corner here. So I press the Alt key and push in a little. Here it still needs a little bit of work. I'm going to go down the dress. It's pretty good. Just gently click so that the entire dress is selected. Still got a bit more down here at the bottom. This is a little bit more difficult because the contrast between the outside of the dress and the dress itself, it's not a very high contrast, but let's see what we can do. Alright, not too, oopsie, there we go. Bring that back in. Maybe I'm going to change this to the push-pull option. It's actually the Refine Selection brush. I use the push selection option, and you'll see that there's a plus sign when I'm within the selection, and it changes to a minus sign if I go outside the selection. So let's try to see if we can push that out a little. Because of the nature of this photo, I'm not too sure if I'm getting dress or the wool, but okay, that's reasonable. We'll leave it at that so that you can see some detail on how this works. So I'm going to go back to the pick tool, and we have our layer, top layer selected. We have a selection, that we now wish to copy to a second layer. And again, I'm going to press Ctrl J, and we now have just a layer with just the dress in it. And so, well, the next step in the project is to add the fabric to this photo. And what I'm going to do is open up the photo bin, select the fabric. Actually, I'm going to select the dress, just click and drag on the fabric and move it into the photo, and there we have the fabric layer which has been added above the dress layer. Now obviously this fabric does not cover the entire dress, so we can just use the handles to stretch this out, bring it down. There, I think we've got the dress covered. We click the green check mark, and there we're ready for the next step, which is to create what's called a clipping mask. And the clipping mask is going to clip this square image or square layer of fabric so that it only shows on the dress layer that has been selected below. Now there are several ways to do this. We can go to the layer menu and use the create clipping mask, and there we have it. Or alternatively, we can press down on the Alt key. This is in Windows. I assume it's the Option key if you're using a Mac. So I'm pressing the Alt key and I hover over the area between the two layers, and you'll see that the cursor has changed. Or at least hopefully you will see it in the video. Hopefully it's large enough to be seen. And when you see that change of the cursor, click, and there we have the clipping mask again. Now that's all you need to do to get a simple change of fabric. But if you want to do something a little bit more to make the fabric look a little bit more realistic on the folds of the dress, what we can do is click on the fabric layer, and starting with Elements 2022 we have the Image Transform Warp tool. And what this does is it allows us to move that layer around to make some changes to it. So we can push it in at the sides, move it around so that there's a little bit of stretch in how the fabric is showing. Obviously this depends on the fabric itself as to whether you're going to get any sufficient change to make this look a little bit more realistic. But what you do is with the warp tool, you click on these what are called Bezier curves, click on the dots that appear. You can also see this line out here, and this changes the bends in the shape of the fabric. If you look actually at the thumbnail here, you'll see how this square image has changed shape. And so that's one area where you can make some changes. We can lift up, look down, just to give a little bit more realistic flow to the fabric. Once we're done with making those changes in the warp tool, click OK, and there we have our white dress changed to a new fabric. That's the end of this little tutorial. Hope you liked it, and see you on the Adobe Community Forum.